In law, one of the things that you need in a contract is not just consideration, which you're referring to, not just an intention to create legal relations, but where you extend somebody a loan, both parties need to be certain, and where they're not, a judge will decide, but both parties need to be clear, certain, as to when the money's due back and how much has been borrowed. What document would you like to show me which gives me an indication as to the certainty of when the money was to be returned?
I rely solely on his admission, if he's willing to make one. Because
He's admitted it.
I have.
You admit that you would like to give this money back.
Correct.
Now, how much is in your bank as of today?
About probably 160 or less.
£160?
No. £1.
£1.60. Joe, you rescued Courtney, along with your mum, from potential death.
Yes.
That rescue came at a cost. Flights, a money transfer to Jamaica, and various other expenses when he arrived. You effectively say to me, Judge Rinder, it was always understood that those were loans. You were not made of money. In order to prove that, I have to be more sure than not, as you correctly identify, that at the time you extended him that credit, both parties knew that they were going to take each other to court. In other words, you had an intention to create legal relations. Your submission, by no stretch of the imagination a silly one, is that the fact that Courtney has paid you some money back is sufficient evidence that he knew that there was a loan. I agree that that's the case. That is some evidence. However, sir, it's not enough. It's not enough because you need a separate document for two reasons. Firstly, because I don't have, as a matter of law, any idea as to when the loan was due, what the terms were at the time you extended him this credit. The second problem is that even if I were to have found that you did have an enforceable agreement, the only part of the debt which I could consider would be the flight from Jamaica and the money transfer. The payday loan and half of the expenses, you would never, ever be able to persuade any reasonable court, i.e. anybody, that that money was used exclusively for Courtney, because you didn't set out in a separate document the money that was exclusively used by him and for him, even if on the face of it, it looks like that, especially when it comes to the expenses on the bank card. You were both, in part, joint beneficiaries of the things that you bought. So even if I were to have found that you had an enforceable agreement, the only part of this debt that I could have awarded you would have been the flights from Jamaica and, I repeat, the money transfer. I'm unable to do that, sir, with regret, because I'm entirely satisfied that at the time that you entered into that agreement, despite him knowing he had to pay you back and showing some willing to pay you, there was no intention to form legal relations. So, it's a matter for you. But if you were to draw up a document and you were to sign it, setting out the money that was owed for the flights from Jamaica and the transfer that you gave him, and he were to sign setting out how much he was to give you each month, if he fails to make those payments, I would hear this case again. Do you understand? That's a matter for you. Would you be prepared to sign that document?
Yes.
I'll leave it to you. I can't force you to do that. For the reasons I've given, I dismiss this case. However, Joe, Courtney, let me be clear. Having heard what you've done for each other and what you have both, especially you, Courtney, have been through, it is depressing, to say the very least, that this relationship has broken down over money. You understand, sir, you can always make more money in life, but you cannot make more time or more quality friendships. Bearing in mind what I've said, would you at least, regardless of having lost your case, be prepared to shake Courtney's hand before leaving court?
That's a non-question, of course. Of course. It's done. It's done. Thank you.
You're going to make a lot more money. You're going to be a very successful person. Courage.
Yes, sir.
Start this business. Pay the money back for the flights.
Yeah.
Good luck to you both. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
Joe's case was dismissed and he was awarded nothing by the court.
Okay.
Let's find out how both parties felt about the judge's ruling.
He has a lot of things that he needs to work on for himself, and he needs to get his own life and improve his own life first. And the main thing is just being there with him to support that.
It was never a one-sided relationship. When two people love each other, these things follow. But it is what it is, and I'm just hoping that we can move on.
Definitely.
You can move on with your life, and I can move forward with mine.
Of course. And I'd like to be there if I can.
Okay.
Don't be stupid. Stay and watch the best Judge Rinder moments. And I'm talking. Understood? Don't be a moron. Subscribe to Judge Rinder YouTube channel. Right now. That's an order.